On Christmas Day, my husband yelled, "Where the hell were you?" in front of his entire family, and that was the moment everything broke. The dining room went silent. Plates hovered in midair. Conversations died instantly. 20 eyes locked onto me like I'd committed a crime by being late. The smell of turkey and cinnamon candles suddenly felt suffocating. Before we begin, a huge thank you to all of you. We've officially hit 500 subscribers. It's a small milestone, but a big deal for us. And now our eyes are set on the 1,000 subscribers goal. To help us get there, please hit the like button. Subscribe so you never miss a story. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and how you're doing. Your support truly encourages us and keeps this channel going now. Let's jump into the story. My husband, Mark, stood at the head of the table, jaw tight, eyes burning with anger. "My whole family's been sitting here for an hour, hungry," he shouted, "and the table's still not set." His mother sighed dramatically. His sister rolled her eyes. His father avoided looking at me altogether. No one asked where I'd been. No one wondered if I was okay. They just assumed I had failed. What they didn't know, what Mark had no idea about, was that 10 minutes earlier, my entire world had shifted. I had woken up before dawn, like I always did on holidays, cleaned the house top to bottom, prepped the sides, put the turkey in the oven, wrapped gifts alone while Mark slept. I was doing everything I always did, being the invisible glue that held everything together. Then my phone rang. One call, one voice, one truth, and suddenly, nothing in my marriage made sense anymore. As Mark continued yelling, I didn't defend myself. I didn't apologize. Instead, I slowly walked to the table and placed the serving spoon down, my hands trembling not with fear, but with something sharper. I looked straight at him and said calmly, "I wasn't late. I was deciding whether I should still be your wife." The room froze. Mark laughed, shaking his head like I was joking. "Don't start your drama today," he said. But his smile faded when he saw my expression didn't change. Because this wasn't about a missing dinner. This was about years of disrespect, control, and a secret he thought I'd buried forever. And in that moment, standing in front of his hungry family, I realized something powerful. Christmas was about to get very uncomfortable for him. What was that phone call, and why did it make me question my entire marriage? Stay with me, because what I learned next shocked me to my core. 10 minutes before Christmas dinner, I answered a phone call that destroyed the marriage I thought I had. I stepped outside into the freezing December air, my hands shaking as I held the phone to my ear. Inside the house, I could hear Mark laughing with his family, playing the role of the perfect husband while I stood alone on the porch. The woman on the line spoke carefully, like she knew her words could ruin lives. "Please don't hang up," she said. "I wouldn't be calling you if this wasn't serious." She said my name again, slowly, to make sure it was really me. Then she told me she worked at a legal office downtown. She paused, took a breath, and said something that made my heart slam against my ribs. "Your husband has been planning to divorce you, quietly, for a long time." I laughed at first. A short, nervous laugh. "That's not possible," I said. "We're hosting Christmas dinner today." She didn't laugh back. She explained that Mark had been meeting with lawyers for over 3 years. Not once or twice, but regularly. He had asked detailed questions about how to protect assets, how to leave a marriage without losing too much, and how to make sure I wouldn't find out until it was too late. Then she said the part that made my knees feel weak. "He's been moving money," she said. "Large amounts, into accounts under his mother's name." Suddenly, everything made sense. The constant criticism, the way he controlled every expense, the way he'd started calling my income extra and his income real money. The woman told me Christmas was symbolic for him. One last holiday where he could sit at the head of the table, feel admired by his family, and pretend everything was perfect before serving me divorce papers in January. I leaned against the porch railing, staring at the snow-covered street, feeling like I was watching someone else's life collapse. "Why are you telling me this?" I whispered. There was a pause. "Because I saw how he talked about you," she said. "Like you were nothing, and you deserve to know." When the call ended, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I stood there, breathing slowly, replaying years of moments I had ignored, moments that now felt like warnings. Inside the house, Mark was already annoyed I was gone too long. He had no idea that while he was waiting to eat, I was deciding something much bigger. Whether to keep protecting his lies, or finally protect myself. But instead of confronting him right away, I made a choice that shocked everyone, because what I did next gave me all the power. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just smiled. And that's when he knew he'd lost control. When I walked back into the dining room, every conversation stopped again. Mark was still standing, arms crossed, clearly expecting an apology. That's what I'd always done before. Lower my voice, smooth things over, save him from embarrassment. But this time, I said nothing. I moved slowly, deliberately, like I wasn't in a rush to please anyone. I glanced at the table half set, plates uneven, glasses untouched. All things Mark had blamed on me. All things he'd never once helped with. His mother cleared her throat. "Well?" she asked. "Dinner isn't going to set itself." I looked at her, then at Mark, and for the first time in years, I smiled. Not a soft smile. Not an apologetic one. A calm, knowing smile. "I need some air," I said simply. Mark scoffed. "You're being ridiculous." But his eyes followed me as I reached for my coat. I could feel his confidence cracking. He was used to my reaction stares, explanations, guilt. Silence was new. I stepped outside, the cold biting into my skin. And for a moment I just stood there. My phone buzzed in my hand. Messages were already coming in. "Mark, don't do this in front of my family." "Mark, you're embarrassing me." "Mark, come back inside." I didn't reply. I got into my car and drove away. At the end of the street, my hands finally started shaking, not from regret, but from adrenaline. For the first time in years, I wasn't shrinking myself to keep the peace. I drove straight to my sister's house. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and didn't ask questions. She pulled me into a hug and let me cry into her shoulder until the weight on my chest eased just a little. When I finally told her everything, the phone call, the money, the planned divorce, she listened quietly. Then she said something that changed the way I saw the situation. "He thinks he's 10 steps ahead," she said. "Let him believe that." That's when I understood. I didn't need to rush. I didn't need to explode. Mark thought my silence meant weakness, but really, it meant I was thinking. And while he was busy panicking about Christmas dinner, I was starting to plan my escape and my comeback. But Mark wasn't done trying to control the story. His next move crossed a line and forced me to protect myself in a way he never expected. I was sitting on my sister's couch, wrapped in a blanket, when my phone started buzzing again, one message after another. I didn't even have to look to know who it was. "Mark." At first, the messages were short and sharp. "You humiliated me today. My parents are asking questions. Fix this." I ignored them. Then the tone changed. "You're overreacting. That call you got, probably a scam. You're going to regret making a scene." My sister raised an eyebrow. "Don't answer him," she said. But when my phone rang, his name flashing across the screen, I made a decision. I answered, and I hit record. Mark didn't waste time pretending to be calm. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he snapped. "Do you have any idea how stupid you made me look?" I stayed quiet, letting him talk. He told me I was ungrateful, that I owed him, that everything we had was because of him. Then he said the words that finally erased any doubt left in my mind. "If you tell anyone what you think you know," he said, lowering his voice, "you'll walk away with nothing. I promise you that." There it was, the threat I asked him one simple question. Mark, are you hiding money from me? There was a pause. Just a second too long. You're imagining things, he said quickly. And if you're smart, you'll drop this. That night, I saved the recording, backed it up, emailed it to myself, twice. The next morning, while Mark was busy calling relatives and rewriting the story to make me look unstable, I did something he never thought I'd do. I called a lawyer. By the end of the consultation, the lawyer leaned back in his chair and sighed. You did the right thing by leaving, he said, and the right thing by recording that call. Then he looked me straight in the eyes. If even half of what you're saying is true, he continued, your husband is in serious trouble. For the first time since Christmas morning, I felt something new, not fear, relief. Because Mark thought intimidation would keep me quiet. But instead, he had just given me exactly what I needed to protect myself. And to make sure the truth couldn't be buried. What we uncovered next went far beyond a secret divorce plan, and when I saw where the money was really going, I finally understood how deep the betrayal ran. When the bank records came in, even my lawyer went quiet. A week after Christmas, I sat across from my lawyer in a small, beige office that smelled like coffee and old paper. My hands were folded in my lap, but my heart was racing. Until that moment, everything had been words, phone calls, suspicions, recordings. This was going to be proof. He slid a thick folder across the desk toward me. These are the financial records we were able to access quickly, he said. And honestly, they're not subtle. Page after page showed transfers I had never seen before. Thousands at a time. Sometimes tens of thousands. Always moving out of our joint accounts. Always labeled as family assistance or temporary holding. And every single one of them ended in the same place. An account under his mother's name. I felt my stomach drop. While I'd been budgeting groceries and reusing wrapping paper, Mark had been quietly draining our shared life savings. Money I'd contributed to. Money meant for emergencies. For the future, for us. He started this about 3 years ago, my lawyer explained, pointing to the earliest transfer. Right around the time you said his behavior changed. I nodded slowly. That was when the criticism started. When he began questioning every purchase I made. When he started calling me emotional anytime I asked about finances. It hadn't been stress. It had been guilt. There's more, the lawyer said gently. He showed me emails between Mark and his attorney. Messages where Mark referred to me as dramatic, unreliable, and easily controlled. He wrote about wanting to make sure I didn't get any ideas before the divorce. I had to look away, not because I was surprised, but because seeing it in writing hurt more than I expected. The lawyer closed the folder. He thought moving the money to his mother would protect it, he said. But it actually makes things worse for him. That's when I realized something important. Mark hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. He had broken the law. And suddenly, the balance of power shifted completely. I walked out of that office with copies of everything. My hands shaking again, but this time with determination, not fear. Mark believed he was clever, untouchable, always one step ahead. But now I had the truth. And soon, everyone else would too. With the evidence in my hands, I had a choice: handle this quietly, or confront him where it would hurt the most. And I knew exactly where that would be. 1 week after Christmas, I walked back into that house, and this time, I wasn't afraid. When Mark texted asking if we could talk things out like adults, I almost laughed. The same man who had yelled at me in front of his entire family now wanted a calm conversation in his terms. He suggested his parents' house. The same dining room. The same table. The same people who had watched him humiliate me. I agreed. But I didn't go alone. I walked in with my spine straight, a folder tucked under my arm, and a calm I didn't recognize in myself yet. Mark stood up when he saw me, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. See, he said to his family, I told you she'd calm down. That was mistake number one. We sat down. His mother folded her hands like she was about to judge a courtroom case. His sister leaned back, arms crossed, already irritated. His father stared at the table. Mark cleared his throat. "Let's not make this dramatic," he said. "You got worked up over nothing." I opened my folder. "I'm not here to argue," I said evenly. "I'm here to explain." That got their attention. I slid the first document across the table, then another, and another. Bank statements, transfer records, dates, amounts. Silence filled the room. "What is this?" his mother asked sharply. "Money Mark moved out of our joint account," I replied. "Into an account with your name on it." Mark's head snapped toward her. "Mom?" She stood up so fast, her chair scraped loudly against the floor. "You told me this was temporary," she said, her voice shaking. "You said it was just for safekeeping." I kept my voice calm. "He's been planning to leave me since before last Christmas." Mark finally looked scared. His father spoke for the first time. "Is this true?" Mark opened his mouth. Nothing came out. And that was when I knew this wasn't a conversation anymore. It was an exposure. But the moment that broke him wasn't the money, it was what I played next. And it made the entire room turn against him. The moment I pressed play, my husband lost everything he'd been protecting. The room was already tense. But when I took my phone out of my bag, Mark's face changed completely. The color drained from his skin. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice tight. "I'm letting everyone hear the truth," I said. Before anyone could stop me, I pressed play. Mark's voice filled the dining room clear, angry, unmistakable. "If you tell anyone what you think you know, you'll walk away with nothing. I promise you that." His mother gasped. His sister's mouth fell open. His father pushed his chair back and stood up slowly, like he needed the support. I let the recording continue. His insults, his threats, the way he talked about me like I was an enemy instead of his wife. When the audio ended, the silence was crushing. "Is that your voice?" his father asked quietly. Mark tried to laugh. "It's out of context." "Out of context," his mother snapped. "You threatened your wife." His sister shook her head. "So all that talk about her being unstable, that was just you covering your tracks." Mark's eyes darted around the room, searching for anyone to defend him. No one did. "I did this for the family," he said weakly. "I didn't want things to get messy." His father slammed his hand on the table. "You made it messy," he said. "You lied. You stole, and you humiliated her." For the first time since I'd known him, Mark looked small, not angry, not confident, exposed. I stood up, my legs steady. "This is why I left on Christmas," I said, "and this is why I'm not coming back." No one argued with me. No one stopped me. Because in that moment, the story Mark had built for years collapsed right in front of him, and he knew it. But as satisfying as that moment was, the real consequences were still coming in. They were far worse than he imagined. That Christmas shout cost him everything and gave me my life back. I didn't feel victorious when I walked out of that house for the last time. I felt empty, heavy, like someone who had just survived a storm and was only beginning to understand the damage it left behind. But I never looked back. The legal process moved faster than Mark expected. Once the financial trail was exposed and the recording was added to the file, his confidence disappeared. The man who once yelled at me for being late to dinner now avoided eye contact in court. The judge didn't hesitate. The hidden money was recovered. The accounts under his mother's name were flagged. And every attempt Mark made to paint me as emotional or unstable collapsed under evidence he couldn't explain away. In the end, he didn't just lose the advantage he thought he had. He lost the house. He lost his savings. And more than anything, he lost the respect of the very family he'd tried to impress. His mother never called me again. Not to apologize. Not to explain. But I heard through others that their relationship was permanently damaged. Trust, once broken, doesn't magically return. As for me, the quiet after everything settled was strange. No yelling. No walking on eggshells. No fear of saying the wrong thing. Just peace. I moved into a small apartment, with sunlight pouring through the windows every morning. I started sleeping through the night. I laughed more. I spoke freely. I became someone I barely recognized, but in the best way. That Christmas dinner, the one where he screamed and humiliated me, ended up being the moment that saved me. Because sometimes, the breaking point isn't the end. It's the beginning. If you're listening to this and feeling trapped, unheard, or constantly blamed, please know this. Silence doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes, it's the moment before you take your power back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, no one gets to steal your dignity and call it love. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so more people remember. No matter how old you are, it's never too late to stand up for yourself.